So good morning from Fraser Hill, my first morning here. Fraser's Hill. So I'm getting ready to drop this camera like a hot potato. But at the moment here, this seems to be the best spot actually. I've walked through the town a bit and weirdly on the side of our hotel, these two trees here seem to be awesome. I've got like 4 or 5 lifers. There's something about not being as many branches on them. And I've noticed this elsewhere in the world and in the UK, certain trees just have this sort of flow through of birds. So, I mean, I don't know the birds, but there's some sort of long tailed flycatchery thing, grey, charcoaly grey thing. And right now he's still in there, some sort of reddish woodpecker. He's been in there a while, a bit scruffy looking, maybe a bit wet from the rain. Some babblery type thing with a ring around its eye. I've been chasing down the road there and he's been around. I think that might be the call. That call. I think that might be it. Oh yeah, some sort of barbet up in this tree just a moment ago. I'll have to find out which species. I think it's my first. No, sorry. Got the other barbet, but that one I've definitely not seen before, I don't think. Yeah, something went by. I mean, I flew by. I've seen it a couple of times. Now, I would have gone for something like a sparrowhawk or something. I don't know if it's a raptor though. Could be a large pigeonish type bird. It's not a pigeon. Had an odd shape I can't quite recognize. Hopefully when I get it on the computer, I'll be able to figure it out. But yeah, it's a good start to the morning so far. Monkeys, another species of monkeys here, climbing along the wires. One with a baby underneath, and then all the others started following. Yeah, so far there's a tiny bird in there. There's no way I was getting it. I'd have to be on my A game for speed to catch that sort of thing. It's been a nightmare with the trees. It's been a nightmare because if birds are not in the blue sky, they're in the trees with multiple patterns of exposure, sunlight, slight sunlight, shadows from the leaves, and I'm just having to flick really quick. If something doesn't sit still for 2 seconds, I've kind of missed it. But there's a lot of hirundines going around. I think barn swallows, there's going to be some rufous thingies going on. It's probably a type of swift. I need to take some photographs of these to better ID them. But the swallows land on our hotel balconies. But yeah, I think what we're going to do, there's a feeding station. I'm going to see if it actually exists by a trail. While my wife hasn't called me to say she's ready for breakfast, she's chilling. So I'm going to have a quick drive there. Okay. All right. I've just been filming. This mega tame red-headed Trogon. I was going to see how close he would get. I filmed him over there on a branch. If he didn't call to me, I wouldn't have been able to stop and see him. He was calling. He stopped calling her. He was sitting on that branch. Fraser just flew there. But yeah, I mean, I was in the car. I filmed him handheld, or her, handheld. Then I zoomed in, and then I thought, right, it's definitely not moving. So I pulled the tripod from the back. See? Yeah, he was just sitting on that curved branch there. And unbelievably tame. Funny thing is, I got him yesterday, but not as good as that. So you've got to drive really slowly and look, because when I did see him, it wasn't like it was obscured. He was very clear, but you've got to be really driving slowly. And again, it was calling. I was like, what's that? Something's calling me. And then after I stopped, it stopped calling as if it wanted me to. Well, that's little things we tell ourselves, don't we? So let me just have a little catch up. So reaching in to get my other phone. See, definitely handy having a car because you can get all your supplies in your bag. So, a very plain looking bird actually, but I found out it's apparently called an oriental cuckoo shrike. That was brief. I thought it was something like a jackdaw at first, with the black and the grey. Now flying, I stopped at this viewpoint where there were these flash, two Lamborghinis and Porsche, so it must be a very expensive little B&B hotel area for the uber rich. And these birds flew over, these long neck things with a pouch. And as far as this is concerned, plain pouched hornbill, but it was very misty and grey, so I'm only going by the silhouette. And then this big raptor bird, it was definitely not a kite. Some Japanese guys said it's a kite. I said, no, it's not. The wings are too square, too rectangular, and really the outer tips flicked out. The closest I can come up with is black eagle. So if you know what it is, I ran it through at different angles through Google Lens, and it just kept telling me like condor, golden eagle, and all sorts of nonsense. So black eagle, was the closest I could get to it. And when we're having lunch, this kind of purpley sunbird, and one behind it, and then really obviously that's the female, the one behind it that was plainer. I thought I had two new species there, but it was the female. The female was always plainer, and that turned out to be a black-throated sunbird. By this kind of archway, there was a load of action on the left. Remember online and what I talked about yesterday, everything comes in waves. So if you hear more than two birds singing, get in there because there's other things going on. So to the left of this arch, there was a lot of commotion, but it was all the usual stuff. Spider hunter. fulvetas, and some better video of the black-throated sunbird. So I got a bit better footage to ID it properly. And then in amongst them, there was a one-off rarity, fire-breasted flower pecker. So nice one. And came up, there was another little wave that I couldn't quite track what all the little birds were. And as I was standing there, this big bird landed in the tree in the middle of the road above it. And it was a big old mountain imperial pigeon, so another lifer. So currently total species for both countries altogether added up 135, and lifers both countries, Vietnam and Malaysia so far, 85. Obviously Malaysia's crushing at the moment. And I will say, what I got in Kuala Lumpur itself, it's no slouch. I got some really good tropical looking birds in Kuala Lumpur. I mean, yeah, it is nice to come here, but I think if you really hit Kuala Lumpur hard, you could come away with 100 species and 60, 70 lifers if I had more time, another week. And it was cooler and I could come out a bit longer. But yeah, it was no slouch. Kuala Lumpur is good for birds, very good for birds, and there's other things to look at. It does get a bit boring up here driving around, I'll admit. When there's nothing going on, it's boring. So yeah, I think we've done a catch up. Yes, I did the Richmond Road, which I saw online. Somebody recommended Richmond Road, and that there was a bird feeding station. I didn't see any signs that said it. I drove from one end to the other. It was all gated off, industrial, army, whatever stuff. So nobody's really done a proper downloadable map of everything that goes on here. So you can just get here and go bosh, 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 tick off, tick off. Another thing to add as well, these trails, right? I never mentioned this to my wife because I didn't want to scare the heck out of her. Yesterday, I was standing something like this in this kind of gravel in the road. Nowhere near water, and I wasn't on the grass. And I felt something wet on my leg, like there was a raindrop. And I looked down and I saw a worm as if it was coming out of just above my sock and my skin. And it was obviously some sort of leech. Quick, get it off. And then I'm sure I got another one on my hand. I'm like, what are they doing? Are they dropping from the blood? I'm like, in trees. My wife found out about that, man. She would never leave the hotel. Ow, my hands. Holding this thing. So anyway, the point of that was these trails, if you look at these trails, the gate to where you go through, those don't look like trails. That looks like jungle and some, I mean, there are steps in there, but you have to really sort of, your knees are going to have to be on point if you're going to try these trails. And if you're getting these leeches on you here, who knows what's going on those trails. And if you go in the trails, it's going to be so dark, you won't be able to photograph anyway. My suggestion, if you come here, is drive around in the car and listen. Stick your head out, turn off all the fans. If you've got electric, even better. Stick your head out the window, and if you hear more than two birds quite close to the road, it's probably a sure sign that there's a wave of birds coming through. Stop, listen, get out. Trails, unless you're hardcore dressed head to toe in coverage, forget it. I wouldn't bother. You can do well with the car. You've got your supplies, your liquid, your tripod, even carry everything with you. Keep cool with the air conditioning. That's my advice so far. So we went for a very long drive this afternoon and didn't come away with much for that kind of a long drive. I'm going to say I reckon, I haven't been here all this time anyway, so I couldn't say, but I bet with the number of lifers I got before I left that you could get 80% of the birds I've seen all within the Fraser Hill area, just this kind of pedestrianised area. So we're now at 138 species and 88 lifers. And I was blessed with one final lifer. I went for a walk at the end of the day, started raining, come home. Just some monkeys, two species of monkeys here. Why don't I know their names? So we've come out onto the balcony and I saw a tiny little silhouette on a pine tree. This tiny silhouette up there. Pointed my camera and black and white bird, a pied bird of some type, and does turned out to be a little pied flycatcher. Cool. I've still not got the male pied flycatcher from Europe, the UK, but I've got the little one now. So that was a nice little finisher. I'm just standing on the balcony now waiting for any little, last minute action. There's been a bit of monkey, like I said, there's been some monkey action out here. My wife just ran inside because there was one right there on the roof, just ran in here. And downstairs they've got a monkey in a cage. I don't know what that's for. They've trapped a monkey in a cage. What are they going to do with it? I don't know. But then they had a plastic bag with a snake. I believe it's a snake. They were sort of like holding it up and looking at it. And as I was inside, I heard a bang, 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 bang. So a wooden stick's been taken to it. Dispatched. So on the trip, I did get... this was the bird I saw earlier this morning, and the camera didn't focus fast enough, and it's still not great footage, but it's much more quality, much better quality this time. A greater yellow nape, kind of woodpeckery type bird. But a manual focus required that for that one. And then there was a lot of racket coming from the trees where I stopped, and couldn't quite get a clear shot of it, but you know, sharp, and you can see all the colour and everything. A common green magpie, very unique call. Yeah, so hopefully we'll have the afternoon here tomorrow, have a slow drive back, listening out for any stragglers. Will I hit 100 species? I'm not going to set myself that kind of a challenge and get myself stressed. If I get to 90, that's cool. But I think I've rounded up most of the birds, because I'm starting to see, you start to get all the repeaters now. You know, everything, you pretty much know now what's going on in this area. You're only going to get the very odd straggler that's passing through. Yeah. Okay. Good night, guys.